Hi, and welcome back to the Professionals Recovery Room. This season is going to be a little bit different. I know I started with episode 1, but moving on in future episodes, I am going to be bringing in a guest. In previous seasons, I have focused a lot on leadership, burnout, productivity, and workplace challenges. And those topics are definitely not going away. But this season, I wanted to have some real conversation about work, careers, growth, life transitions, and all the things that we've learned along the way. So less teaching really, and then more perspective and more stories and some honest conversation about what work and life actually feel like. And I didn't want to do it alone. So I have my guest here, Steph. And Steph, I've known her for quite some time, and she is a slew of experience and information to share. She has 25 years of leadership experience and workplace experience, and so many stories that I think are going to be so valuable to future seasons. So I really wanted to offer some different perspectives, some different experiences, and hopefully you enjoy this new format going forward. So today, we're going to be talking about how so many people struggle with feeling that you're somehow behind in your career and the feeling that things should be happening faster for you and they're not. And so I'm going to really open it just right out the gate to Steph. Steph, do you think people expect faster success today than they did 20 years ago?
Wow, it's a great question, Michelle, right? First, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be a part of the discussions, and I'm excited about the topics and specifically about this one. Because when we think about how we drive ourselves, how we move ourselves, we do compare ourselves to others. And when we do that, we look left and right and think, am I moving as quickly as I should? And so I think with today, as we look at how everything is at our fingertips in a second, information, data, updates. People are sharing what they're doing every second of their lives, of their minutes, of their days. I'm getting a coffee. I'm having this dinner. And guess what? I just got promoted. And so we hear all these great things, and it's coming at us more than it ever has.
You know, that's so true, Steph. When you say that, it makes me think about my LinkedIn. LinkedIn to me is becoming just a bombardment, right? We used to be able to kind of keep track with our peers, see what was going on, maybe check a little bit of news, but I really do feel like there's some core things that you're being bombarded with on LinkedIn constantly. And one of them is because you have so many friends by now, right? We've had it for years. You've got 500 plus, maybe 1,000 people that you're LinkedIn with. Yeah. You're getting constant, hey, I got promoted. Hey, I got a new job. People moving up in their career and making it look so glamorous and so easy, right? So it's happening all the time. We're seeing it day after day. And it seems like it should be happening for everybody because it's so common, right?
Absolutely. It's hard not to look at where we're at saying, well, I'm not posting those things. I'm not getting promoted. And why not? And so that can add a lot more unneeded and undue stress on anybody. And we're already trying to be as successful as we can be. This guy's doing a little bit quicker.
Yep. Where's mine? Where's mine now?
Yeah, exactly.
And I started realizing that we have these people coming straight out of college that are posting, and they don't really share the career title, right? But they make it look like they are already so successful. They're living in this high-rise apartment that's overlooking the city that you know is thousands upon thousands of dollars a month, right? And, you know, you don't know who they're married to or who they're or whatever else is going on. Maybe they had money that was given to them, who knows? But it looks like that they've made it already and they just graduated college.
Yeah.
And so what is that telling the rest of us and how we're doing? And, you know, are we on time? What are they doing differently, right?
Oh, yeah. And then you think about what is it doing to the up and coming who aren't in that career yet, but boy, they can't wait till after they graduate because they see that person is already so successful. So it's also building unrealistic expectations for a young work demographic entering the workforce to come in to think it's that easy.
I think that's so important. That brings up really the next thing that I wanted to talk about is in reality, careers are usually really messy. There is no straight line from A to B that gets you there. And honestly, really, what fun would that be, right? If you didn't get to pivot and change and you're changing, why can't your career change? So it's not even just getting promoted, but we're missing all of the gaining experience through lateral moves and doing different types of roles and experimenting a little bit. Because that's what society says, right? Growth is promotion. We're literally a culture of growth is promotion. And I think you're absolutely right. That's not always where people want to grow. And we're being fed something that we have this expectation that's external to us, but internally, maybe we do just want to explore. Maybe we want to go sideways and try something different. Maybe we don't want our boss's role.
Yes, exactly. And that's okay, right? I think so many people get so caught up in the, oh, I got to take my boss's job. No, don't. You need to look at it and say, is it an option for me? But it isn't a predestined thing you have to do, and that's where the dice is going to roll for you in the end, and that's where you have to go.
Has there ever been a point in your career where you felt like you should have been further along than you were?
Yeah, for sure. I did. And it happened with peers. So I'm like, okay, we started together, we're going, yay. And I'm watching them move, and I'm like, oh, what? Congratulations, man, way to go. You got VP. That's so awesome. And then somebody else, I'm like, oh my gosh, girl, that's great. You're executive director. Shoot. Way to go. Well deserved. And then I keep looking, I'm like, okay, my turn's going to come soon because like I'm doing all the things. And I did find myself looking around saying, what am I doing wrong? What is wrong with me? How come I'm not that? And it took me a little time to get through that. I would say for a few months when I realized that's what was happening, I was like, wow. And I had to make a conscious decision to stop and think about, why am I comparing myself to someone else's journey that is different than mine? I need to embrace who I am and then figure out how I lead myself to the positions I want, not a title that I think should come next. And once I realized that, that's where I opened myself up to so many different opportunities because it wasn't just that straight line like you were describing.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think it's really our responsibility to start to normalize that. So we have this whole society culture beating down on us, but we have to normalize that everybody has a different gas pedal. Like at times you're going to be going 90. At times you're going to slow down at a stoplight or a yield, right? Everybody has a different place that they are in life. And so we have to normalize that that's okay. And we're going to see each other pass us. We're going to pass them.
I agree. And I also say how we define success individually is so important to this. Because if we're only defining our success and our happiness by a title that says I've gotten to a certain level that now I'm happy, wow. I mean, great if that works for you. But your happiness doesn't have to be tied to a title. Success is not tied to a title. What I look at is success is defined as, for me, how am I impacting others? How can I have an impact in the world I'm in, the seat I'm sitting in, the people I'm talking to? And if that is filling my cup, I'm happy as can be. I am exactly where I want to be. And I think that's another part that people have to understand. A role, a position, a title is not going to bring you individual happiness. It is success, it is a check mark, it is an accomplishment by far. But really the focus on what drives you as a person is really the goalpost here. Who cares about a title? And who cares what John over there is doing and Mary's doing over there? Because I know I'm at where I want to be. And this is exactly the direction I am happiest and how my life is good. That's the type of answer I want to hear from more professionals than I do today. I think today, when we ask that, are you happy? How successful have you been? They immediately go to job title and what they're responsible for.
That's really interesting. We could probably dive into that for another hour, honestly. Sure. But I do think you call out something really important. This is something Steph and I do with our clients as well, is how can you know that you're being successful or not if you haven't defined that? And so exactly what Steph said is taking away the title, take away any of the formalities, anything that's culturally built, right? But think about what you define success as. And I think Steph just gave a really good example of what it is for her. But what is that for you so that you even know if you've reached it or not? And I think that's a really important thing. So thanks, Steph, for bringing that up. The other thing is, and we talked about it a little bit, normalizing that it takes time. Your journey is going to take time, and it's normal to do that. I just want to fill out, I know we've talked about it in prior podcasts as well, but Jeff Bezos always comes up for me just because he's one of those recent people that really, built the conglomerate, right?
Yeah.
And so he took like 9 years, I believe it is, to become profitable. He started in his garage. It took years of effort and failures. And like even still today, he'll speak about like failures and it being okay to fail and then keep going and keep pushing through. It was a huge journey. I know there's some more. Steph, do you have any favorites? Any stories?
I do. Immediately what comes to mind for me is I have a good friend. He's a small business owner and he worked his tail off to get there, right? He's a barber and he has been cutting hair for over 20 years. And he has built his clientele through, consistency, dependability, being able to hit the mark for what his clients want. It took him years to build that clientele base and open his business, and it's very successful today. Now, what we were talking about the other day, though, was he has some new barbers coming in, and they're coming in after they just graduated. They're expecting they're going to be Instagram famous overnight because they're cutting hair in a barber shop. And he's trying to tell them and help them with, you have to be able to build your clientele. And the way you do that is doing this, doing that, and trying to tell them the things they need to do. His frustration comes, they don't want to do it. They think they're like, wow, this isn't what I signed up for. Like, what do you mean I have to do all those other things? So it's very interesting, again, as we were talking about earlier, the influence that social media can have on people going into different roles and their expectations are not aligned with reality.
Because you don't see the build. It's like what you just said. Those people coming in that are new didn't see him build his business for years and what it took from him. We didn't see Jeff Bezos in his garage building Amazon, right? We saw once he was famous. And then these people coming in see once he's actually successful in his hair shop. Like you forget all of the years. And what's funny is, and just on a side note, I don't want to go down a tangent, but ask people their story. Right. Some people like to share, but you might have an idea in your head that doesn't fit the true story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I love that point. I think so many things that we talk about are just like, they're so simple to just ask a question. Tell me your story. I mean, that could take you so far in understanding somebody. And it's one simple question, and it's not asked often. I love that one. Thanks, Michelle.
Awesome. So just want to call out, it's not just us talking. Erickson et al. Showed that research on expertise consistently found that mastery develops through years of focused effort and repetition, not overnight breakthrough. So we're coming right back to the science. So the stories that we're sharing, the people that we've talked to, it is completely in line with what research has also found. And I think it just helps to give us even a little bit more confidence that what we're saying about social media, about the bombardment of just the outward expectation is not the truth. That's not how realistically people are building these really uber successful careers.
Oh, for sure. We saw that also when you saw the influencers and online creators first really take off and their stories of how they're making so much money from being sponsorships. How many people then thought, oh, well, I'm doing that. I'm going to be an influencer. And then they went out and did these things and you never heard of them. They didn't make any money because they didn't see the work, the hours, all of the planning that takes. It takes time. And to your point, I think that's so true with today. You just get a quick fast forward button. Here they are. You're like, wow, I could do that. I like nice things, So I think that is so true that it is misleading people to think that it's easier today to be successful. And it's just as hard as it's always been. But I think it's through that dedication, that drive, and focusing on the right things for where you want to go is what's going to help you get to your final destination. I think, again, all of these great clips coming in makes it look like, oh, that's going to happen to me tomorrow, next week.
That brings up a really good question, Steph. So let me ask you, what assumptions do we make about successful people? You started in on that, but what assumptions are we making?
One is it's easy. They probably knew somebody. And it's so unfortunate because what that does is it just takes away from that person's accomplishments and the hard work they put in that you're now seeing the results of. It just diminishes that. And that's unfortunate for those people. But more times than that, it's the grit, it's the work, it's the dedication, and it is the failures, like you said. Because it's those failures that help us learn that makes us redo it differently to say it's going better now.
So you and I have been at the table for many years. We've been in leadership roles. We've been dealing with, all the things behind the scenes. And I love to demystify that when I'm with clients or even through the podcast. I love to demystify what's happening behind the scenes most times for people. Nowhere is perfect, and we're not always going to be in this box of, everything happens the way that we say it will. But from our experience, and I'll share mine first, and Steph, you can share yours as well. I can tell you that I can't think of one offhand. Maybe if I thought for an hour, but I can't think of one offhand that there was a person that was put in a role specifically because of who they knew. Now, what I will say is they might have had more visibility. And that means scheduling skip levels, having more conversations, being open to share what they were working on. Visibility is very, very different from that person's been my friend forever, and so they're going to promote me, right? Mm-hmm. So I think for me, I just want to make sure that folks that are listening understand that that is not the norm to have that happen. So I would definitely try to make sure that you're being thoughtful in the assumptions that you're making. Any for you stuff that you can think of?
There's one that came to mind as you're sharing that story. I thought, oh my gosh, I forgot about this. I was working in San Antonio and our new director started. And we're like, oh, I didn't even know that we had an opening. Okay, well, here's a new director. Hi, how are you? And then we found out as everything spreads in an office environment, right? Like, his wife knows the CEO. And so we're like, oh, got it. I understand. And we didn't take it too well at first. We were like, oh, well, okay, I guess that's what happens here. And there was absolutely discord initially when he was introduced. And
a lot of mistrusts happening.
A lot of
assumptions.
Okay, you don't have any skills. Like, you got this job just because. And I did something that me and one of my other colleagues were like, let's go have lunch with this guy and let's find out who he is. Like, he's here. So let's figure out how this is going to work, right? Taking that time and understanding his background, he absolutely was a key instrument we needed and didn't even know it. And so coming across the opportunity that our senior leaders did on knowing who he is and what he can do, they created a role and brought him on board. And it was the best thing they could have done. Now, I took a moment. I wanted to understand who he was. I asked that question you brought up earlier. Tell me your story. And just knowing that, those assumptions went away because they weren't real. And he actually brought forward all of the skill sets, like I said, we were needing, just didn't know it.
Yeah.
And he actually fit the bill. So those assumptions were way off. But take the time, to your point, and find out some real stories.
That's really true, because you could have totally went down a spiral when you stopped it straight away. That's awesome. So now we realize we're making a lot of assumptions probably about why people are getting roles and moving around, and assumptions on why they're going so much faster than we are. But can we just really quickly touch on, there's a lot of things within our control when it comes to the trajectory of our career. And so what are some of those things that you feel like if you really are trying to move forward that you can focus on to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward in those cases?
Man, I talk with my teams and leaders I've worked with. It really is about who are you as a leader? Who are you as this teammate, as this person in this role? And understanding that and setting your own personal goals of what you want to accomplish in that role and writing those things down and looking at them, reminding yourself, having a system in place that supports the type of leader you want to become is absolutely important. Because as we all know, like we can sit and say, I want to do these things, I intellectually understand them, but until I exercise them and turn those habits into behavior, which we know takes weeks to do, it's never going to become who we are. So I talk to my leaders about really, if you want that promotion, like I know you do, you want to grow your career. Don't look around you on what everybody else is doing. Look at what you're doing. Where do you want to go? But if you don't know the destination, you don't have a master. And then therefore, you're going to be drawn and going to whatever's calling your attention. And that's where I think you can get into the trap of, wow, they're moving pretty quickly. Wow, they're doing this and I'm not. And then you're just self-doubting. So get yourself to a point where you know where you want to go and take the steps one by one to get yourself there. It's going to take time, effort, feedback, be open to it all. Doesn't happen overnight. And it's not going to happen just because your friend next to you is getting ahead.
I hear you saying, show up repeatedly, right? Don't just say it. Don't just feel it, but show up. Be ready. Have that consistency. Write it down. Know what you're even shooting for at that point. And then the other things I think that just to add on to that is don't forget to build relationships.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Those folks that, like I said, that are getting the visibility, I can guarantee that they're making relationships. They're creating networks. And then don't forget to focus on your learning. I think a lot of people are so ready to jump that they forget to look around and start soaking in what they can in the position that they're in. And so it's one of those things where people always wonder, like, why am I not ready? But they're not trying to actually do the job that they were intended to do. They're trying to work one up and they're not able to because they haven't learned the foundation.
You're so right. Oh my gosh, as you're saying that, I'm like, yes, amen. That is so true. It is so true. Focus on what it is you want to do and what you need to do to get ahead, not already, okay, I'm in this role. That means I have it and that means I'm done with it. Now I want to go over there. No. And also, great point about the relationships. Gosh, learning from your peers that have been through it already, gold. I mean, they're the ones that are going to have actual experiential knowledge of the things that you want to accomplish. Why wouldn't you want to understand that more? So taking the time to build those relationships, so important.
And even from a tactical perspective, these are the people that are likely going to be a part of your review process. So I would keep that in mind too, that, you may have an idea of someone or a group of people, but these are the people you need to work with and they're going to be giving you feedback. So what do you want to hear back from them? That you didn't want to work with them and that you wanted to move up and bypass or whatever that looked like? Or do you want to say, hey, that person was a team player that really helped us be successful? So I think that the idea of this whole episode is really bringing back to most careers are built slower than we think. And I can guarantee you that they are built slower than you see. And there's this expectation we should be moving really fast, but there are phases that we have to go through. And that includes a learning phase, a rebuilding phase, a figuring it out phase. And then there's those hills between the valleys where you're going 90 miles in forward trajectory. I would say if you don't take anything else away, take away that it is a journey that has rights and lefts, ups and downs, and nobody's story is perfect from A to B. That's not how life works.
Absolutely. And even though, like I said, you make a map, guess what? There's detours, and that's okay. But it's still being true to yourself and ensuring you're sticking to what is your roadmap for who you are is what's important to never get away from.
Yeah, your journey is up to you. It's your journey. Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining, Steph. I just want to mention that she is going to be back for our future conversations in the season as well. And our next episode, we're going to be talking about right time, right place, and how much timing actually impacts opportunity. So excited to see you there, and we'll see you next time.
Can't wait for next time, guys. See you then.